Hello, Josh Stevens, General Manager of Rockingham Petroleum. We're here in Stanley, Virginia today with Clay Nevitt, owner of Shenandoah Farms. And Clay, you've been selected to receive the Cream of the Crop Award for this month. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Here at Shenandoah Farms.
Welcome to the Leading at the Next Level podcast with Dove Development and Consulting, the show built to provide ongoing support for your leadership journey. So much like I've done recently a few different times, I have the pleasure of doing an interview with one of our dear friends and partners, Josh Stevens, General Manager of Rockingham Petroleum Cooperative here based in Harrisonburg, Virginia. And a couple different points we'll talk about with Josh. I'll lead into some questions shortly. But one of the biggest things I want to make sure we're covering today is Josh and the team at Rockingham Petroleum Cooperative have been partners with us for years on the Live to Lead experience, Live to Lead Harrisonburg experience. And what they're doing this year, they're Keynote Leadership Legacy Keynote partners of our upcoming event on June 13th at the Atlantic Union Bank Center. So with all that in mind, let me tee it up to Josh and maybe just Josh, give a brief overview of your background and a little bit about Rockingham Petroleum.
Yes. Thank you, Wes. We're excited to partner with you guys and you and Cindy on the Live to Lead event again this year. A little bit about myself, I guess when we're talking about leadership, my leadership journey started as early as 7th grade when I had Randy Ward as an agricultural education FFA advisor in middle school. And started getting involved in Future Farmers of America and really going around the country and the state to see what things were going on and being more involved. And that really kind of got me jived up to be more active in that organization, but also be more active in my personal development. So as fast forward to managing businesses and being in leadership roles within businesses, when I first met you, I believe it was at the Virginia Poultry Federation seminar many, many years ago. It seemed like a perfect fit. Leadership development doesn't necessarily stop. You can always learn more. You can always do new things. So that it can start as young an age as 11, and it doesn't have to end. So.
Amen to that. Talk a little bit about Rockingham Petroleum, who you serve, what's some of the key points? What's the purpose behind the organization and what you guys do?
Well, so Rockingham Petroleum we're a local farmer-owned cooperative started in 1942. So next month in February, actually just a few short days from today, about a week from today, we'll be celebrating our 83rd year in business. Back then, a group of farmers right here in Rockingham County decided that, hey, we can provide ourselves with similar products we're buying from other people, probably at a more competitive price, and do it better because we own the business. So we still live by those principles today. We not only serve our member farmer owners of the business, but we also serve approximately 25,000 other businesses, industries, municipalities. We serve folks all the way from all over Rockingham County, Shenandoah County, Page County. We do touch very small portions of northern Augusta, but we allow our sister co-op at Augusta Petroleum take care of that area. And then we also go into eastern Hardy County into West Virginia.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. You don't have to be a member of the cooperative to be treated like a member of the cooperative. I mean, Cindy and I, we're not in the agriculture business even a little bit, but gosh, we get amazing service. We get amazing product. And I was just telling one of you guys the other day when I was in the office how much I appreciate the friendliness, the courtesy of everybody that we interact with, whether it's in the office or the guys that come to our place to fill up a propane tank to keep me from freezing to death in my office. Right.
Well,
it's good dude.
Yeah. And that's the thing with us, we know who we serve. We know why we exist. And ultimately everyone needs to be treated like a member owner of this business, even if you're not. So our biggest thing is we're neighbors serving neighbors. A lot of our employees live right next door to you, right down the street from you. And we have a vested interest right here in the community in which we serve and provide product to. So, we're just still speaking about Rockingham Petroleum. That's what we do. Some people get us confused sometimes with Rockingham Co-op. Rockingham Co-op, they do the ag stuff, right? They do the fertilizer and the seed and the feed. We are petroleum only. We distribute petroleum energy products, whether that's heating oil, diesel fuel, gasoline, propane is the big one, to all of the folks that we serve right here in this community.
Yes, indeed. And yeah, make sure when you see Lester in passing, you tell him I ask about him, and I appreciate every time I get to interact with him. He's a great guy. So, Josh, one of the things that Cindy and I realize, and kind of the premise of the book that I've got coming out in just a few days, Leading with Clear Purposes, when you accept leadership responsibility, my goodness, there's a whole lot of heartache and headache and hard times that come with it that you don't necessarily have when you've got just a rank and file job. And there's nothing against that, but you carry extra weight. What's that purpose that gets you out of bed that you were willing to say, hey, I'll take that on. I'm willing to accept that responsibility?
Well, the biggest thing for me is folks still in our area, we need energy to keep everything moving. And that energy is provided through the products that we're able to distribute. So whether that's, keeping your grandma warm in her home during the last 3 weeks of 30 degrees, or whether it's making sure that someone is able to get up, tie their boots, get in their truck and able to drive down the road to take care of someone else. That's one of the biggest things that we pride ourselves in, is we're a catalyst for everyone else being able to stay comfortable and then do what they do on a daily basis. So, even when you start thinking about folks that if they go to Friendly City Food Co-op and they get a chicken salad with SVO chicken, at some point those trucks have touched my lot, and those guys have had to come in here, get their fuel, take those birds to market, get those birds to the store. And it's just really neat to think about when you follow the chain of command, if you will, all the way back. At some point, we had a hand in getting those products to where they need to be.
That's outstanding. As a business, and that's one of the pieces that I touch on in the book, is the importance of any leader in a business being able to cast that purpose for everybody in the organization so they understand exactly who they serve and the impact they can make. Let's take it a little bit more personal. So for you, again, you've got a lot of folks. You guys have around 50 folks in the organization. You're intimately involved. You have a role in the board of supervisors in Shenandoah County. You do so many different things. You've got 2 young girls that are just amazing. What drives you personally to accept that leadership responsibility and really carry that torch for the team that you're a part of?
Well, at some point in my life, there was someone who was willing to make sacrifices of, time, talent, and treasure. Okay. So time, talent, or your money. Someone was making those sacrifices when I was growing up to make sure I'm able to do what I do. And ultimately it's my way of serving the community and serving folks that not only work for me, that not only buy product from me, but also folks, again, my neighbors and the folks that you mentioned, the board of supervisors. It's ultimately, for me, what drives me is what kind of difference can I make in the lives of those around me, and to make their lives more comfortable, better, and hopefully see them strive the way I've been able to.
Yeah. And Josh, I talked not long ago with my friend Scott Glover at Blue Ridge Insurance. I think you know Scott, and if you don't, I need to make sure you're connected with Scott. He's a great guy. But he referenced somebody earlier in his career just like that. And it took me back to somebody in 1999 in my career and all the pieces. And you're right. It's really about how do we pay it forward. If somebody didn't do it for us, we wouldn't have the chance to do it for other people. And it's kind of a responsibility. So
that's exactly right. I mean, it's more or less, how can I, the way I look at it, if I'm not willing to step up and serve, who will do it?
Yeah.
And sometimes the unknown is okay. Sometimes it's scary, right?
Yeah.
Who would do this? Who would do this if I didn't?
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm the best at it, and it's not that I'm perfect at it. But at some point, somebody needs to say, you know what? I'm willing to take that responsibility to continue driving this train and making sure, everything moves the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm willing to make mistakes. I'm not willing to see people hurt because I'm not willing to make mistakes. Right.
That's exactly right. I'm not a risk adverse individual myself. I'll take a risk.
Yeah. Jump on board, guys. We got this.
Yeah.
So you mentioned early on FFA career specifically. What, with your professional career, what's been the biggest motivating factor for you to make sure you're continually and actively involved in different ways to hone that leadership skill set that you've got?
Well, being involved in the elite group with you and Cindy was one way that I figured I could continue to grow my skills in leadership. It's also a great opportunity in that group for me that I saw was, iron sharpens iron. So when you're actually working with other folks who are in similar positions, but in different industries, it can really, when you start talking to people like Gil Coleman, and he says, I tried this in my organization when we had this issue, and you're able to glean some things from that, because let's face it, even though Gil's an engineer and we're a petroleum distributor, the principles of leadership and the basics of running the business aren't that much different.
I would argue they're not different at all. I had a conversation with the gentleman not long ago. He and his family own and operate a number of car dealerships locally. And his comment to me was, we're not in the car business. We used to be in the car business. Several years ago, we transitioned to being in the people business, but we sell cars to those people. That's how we help them. And another mutual friend of ours, you mentioned Gil, Jordan Rohr with Power Connection says, hey, we provide electrical contracting, we do generators, but we're in the people business. And that's the common thread for all of us if we're willing to accept that true leadership responsibility, for sure.
That's exactly right. We're here to serve our customer. Just so happens that we take propane while we do it, right? So
yeah, and you nailed it earlier. Hey, that's somebody's grandma, that's somebody's mom, that's that. And if we don't help them get to where they need to go, somebody's lacking that day, whether it's something being made in a manufacturing facility that we're blessed to have so many of in the area, or care services, or whatever that is. The infrastructure doesn't go on without that fuel to get them there.
Right. Well, and another thing that you mentioned earlier, Wes, was you would argue that it's not different at all. And I would agree with that. The thing that I've also gleaned from continuing my growth in leadership development and getting my folks involved, more or less my leadership team here at Rockingham involved in your all's programs and continuing to let them grow in their personal and leadership development if it's not different at all, it is different how you deal with different people, right? So what you guys have helped with it is I've been able to look at myself and say, okay, Josh, here's how you generally respond or react at times. Here's how Cassie wants someone to react or respond. And how do I hone that? And how do I make sure that I am giving my people what they need from my leadership in order to continue to help them to grow? Because all of them are different and I'm different. So what we don't want is the clash.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be able to move through difficult issues much more fluidly.
Yeah. I mean, you and I, to your point, are wired pretty much hold our beer. Watch this, whether it's truly beer involved or not. And for me, 24 years almost to the day, it hasn't been, but fast paced, charge hell with a water pistol. How do we get things done? If I'm approaching most other people in the world, not named Josh,
right.
Wowee, they're overwhelmed. So that's critical. Now, you mentioned getting other folks involved, and that really brings me to the next question I'll toss out to you. You've been a close partner with us on the Live to Lead Harrisonburg experience for several years. And this year, coming into our Leadership Legacy experience, where we're changing gears a little bit, we've got the bigger event. We're looking at around 800 participants from probably more than 200 organizations across the United States. You guys are a key. You're the leadership keynote partner for the event, along with Pioneer Bank. What really drives you to lock arms with us on an event like that? What is it for your team, but also the impact you see that you can make in the community around by being with us on that?
Well, again, it's going to give us an opportunity to have key team members be there to continue to grow our organization. But it also gives an opportunity to make sure that the content in which I've been able to in the past utilize it on my level is there for the other 1,000 participants, hopefully plus. I don't know how many on, but it drives me to how are we helping those other organizations as well to say, hey, this has worked for us. That's why we're willing to invest our time, talent, and treasure in continuing with it. Take it serious because it can certainly help you as well.
Yeah, and I mean, we're working hard to get there. So I would love to see 1,000. 800 is kind of the target number. You're putting some pressure on me on that, but
We'll get 1,000. No big deal.
Hold my beer. Watch this. We'll figure it out.
We'll get there.
Wow. Yeah, and it's to your point. I've watched, and I've just so appreciated the intention you've put into developing your people, be it through events like that we host that's large in scale, or even the smaller groups like the Executive Leadership League Think Tank or the Impact Leadership Academy, or even some of our one-off courses. You've been intentional about giving your team the tools to grow in their own roles, move into new roles. And I've watched, it's been so cool to watch how much they appreciate, not just you're investing in them, but you see and value that in them. And they know, hey, Josh has got my back. He's not trying to hold me back. He's trying to help me grow and potentially maybe one day fill in his role.
Yep. And that's what we're looking for. I mean, my board of directors, I don't plan to retire for at least another 28 years, somewhere in that neighborhood. But my board of directors was very intentional last year in my performance evaluation. What happens if you're not here? And I'm like,
yep.
Oh, that's good. I don't plan on going anywhere. They said, yeah, you don't plan on a lot of things, but having that contingency plan and having that succession plan and making sure that if that does happen, the folks here are ready and willing and have the tools to step up to continue moving forward.
Yeah, it's fun to watch, and we deeply appreciate being a part of it because you've got some amazing people on the team. One of the things I want to hear from you, because I watch what you guys do at Rockingham Petroleum, and it's just amazing. Give a recent example of a successful project or campaign that you guys have really spearheaded to make an impact on the community as a whole or a specific industry. You do so many, so it might be tough to nail down one, but share something like that.
We get involved in so many different things, Wes. It's hard to maybe explain, but I think one of the things that I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on is ultimately what you started this podcast with was that Cream of the Crop Award. WHSV came to me several times asking for, hey, can you sponsor this? What do you think about this? And it's like, guys, that really doesn't fit the message that we want to send and who we are. And then when this Cream of the Crop Award thing came up, it really gives a chance to showcase. And some of these folks aren't even members of our co-op. They don't even live. Some of them don't even live in the geographical area in which we serve. That didn't matter. We want to showcase the good that these folks are putting back into our community because we can say, look, we're serving folks like this. In return, they're serving folks like you. They're highly involved in their church. They're involved in Little League. But being able to partner with WHSV in that venture and showcase folks that you see them on the road all the time. You see them at the store all the time. But they don't necessarily get that 1 minute of this is what I really do. I think it's been taken very well across the community.
Well, it's powerful because, my goodness, to your point, we don't recognize it. We complain when we're at the grocery store about this price or that price, and I'm going to blame politics on both sides for a lot of that nonsense because it ain't the farmer that's driving up that price, right?
Right.
The farmer, there's no days off when you own a farm. That's just the way it works with that. And I've said for years, you mentioned the Virginia Poultry Federation when we met. I remember where we stood when we had the first conversation. For somebody to live in Virginia, but specifically the Shenandoah Valley, and think I'm not involved in the poultry industry, their head's a little bit in the sand because it touches every aspect of our lives. And praise God for that because it's tax based, it's a lot of jobs, it feeds us, it's all those different things. So,
Yep. And you mentioned, you mentioned earlier too about, when I was talking, not everyone's the same and how we work with other people. That not only translates inside these doors, but it also translates when I'm out working with members or commercial clients or industrial clients. And it's really it gives you a sense, or even just residential clients, when you get them on the phone and you start hearing how they talk and how they react and the conversation that you're getting ready to have, you can pretty well identify how they think, right? And what they're thinking. And it gives you a chance to make sure that how you respond to them is exactly the best way to be for a good conclusion to if there's an issue.
Yeah, and the reality is those folks may be the ones that we have less chance to get it wrong. With our teams, we can always circle back and say, hey, I'm sorry the way I handled that or whatever, and we've got some credibility built in. But for our customers, we don't have that same level of daily interaction. So we better get it right from the beginning.
Yeah, and like I said, everybody's different. I had a gentleman tell me one time, I have a degree to teach high school. Okay, that's what I went to college for. Didn't do it. Thankful I didn't do it. Not to get too political on that either, but it seems like in the education system we have this thing called standards of learning, and we're ultimately trying to teach these kids and young people to the exact same standard when they're all different individuals, right? So it doesn't work. And the only difference in teaching high school and running a business like this is the age of the kids. It's the only difference. So if I can't treat every single one the same because every single person is different, and how they learn is different, how they take information is different, how they utilize that information is different. So
yeah, I mean, Josh, in the years that I did behavior-based safety, that was the biggest thing I learned, that whether we're 5 or we're 55, the same triggers cause the same behaviors, and it's not different. It's not like we're belittling folks by saying the age of the kids. It's really triggers cause our behaviors, right? And
that's exactly right.
Same across the board. Now, you touched on a little bit with school, but it really leads me into one of the final questions I'll tee you up with is, what advice would you give somebody early in their professional career that's really looking to advance their career and move into a leadership role, take on that extra responsibility? What would you say? Hey, here's the path or a good starting point.
One thing I would do for sure is find a group of individuals very similar to the impact group or the elite group, but find a small group of individuals that are on, let's just say, a similar level, a similar trajectory with similar goals, and meet with those folks, talk with those folks. The other thing I would do is if you know someone within, or it doesn't have to be within, but if you know someone that has kind of achieved what you're trying to achieve, or gotten to a place where you've gotten to interview that person, talk to them. What books have you read? What advice can you give me? There are folks out there that would be more than willing to be a mentor. They're just waiting to get they're some of them are just waiting to get asked, or to find the right person to do it.
Yep, 100% right. And then pay attention and be willing to do what they say, even if you don't want to.
Exactly right. Yeah, you can't ask for advice and then, well, so and so said this, so I'm doing it that way. Okay.
Yeah. So I love that you said that you got to ask. So one of the things, Cindy and I are just so excited about the June 13th event that we're doing with Mark Cole, the CEO and owner of Maxwell Leadership. So many people around the world, I'm thinking north of 40 million people have read John Maxwell's books or purchased his books and so on. He's trained leaders in every country on the planet and all this different stuff, but they don't know Mark Cole. But Mark is the guy that travels the world with John. He's worked for him for 25 years. He's been his CEO for over 15. He's owned the company for about 5 years now as kind of creating John's legacy. But people were saying, gosh, how did you get Mark Cole to agree to come be part of that event? Well, my answer is I asked.
You asked.
I asked. And apparently not many people have asked. And when they said, yeah, he'll do it, here's the price, we said, okay, we'll do that. And we're thrilled about that. I know you don't know Mark at the level we do, but you've heard me talk about him. You've seen some of his stuff. What are you looking forward to most about that opportunity? Because you'll get to meet Mark as part of the VIP experience and different things there. Talk to me about what you're looking forward to from the event.
Well, I think the one of the biggest things that I'm looking forward to is just, again, I'm looking forward to that 5 to 10 word sentence that I'll just never be able to forget. It happened to me 2-3 Live to Leads ago. Gentleman was talking. It had nothing to do with his presentation. He didn't even have it on the PowerPoint of his presentation, but he said 5 simple words that I've never forgotten and I'll never forget. You get what you tolerate. And that just stuck with me. And the biggest thing that I look forward to every year is what's that very short tidbit that I'm not, if I ask Mark a question and he gives me a quick answer, I'm looking forward to what's the one thing that I'm going to be able to put right here that's going to hit me right here and here connected, but mostly what's going to hit me here that I'm going to be able to walk away and continue to grow my team.
Well, make sure your pen has plenty of ink in it for that, because I don't think it'll be just one. Cindy and I have known Mark for 10 years. We've seen him speak dozens of times in audiences far bigger than the one we'll have at James Madison. And holy moly, he's hard. I mean, I can't wait for you to get to meet him in person, hear him speak, and get that piece. So, yeah. Josh, is there anything you would like to share about there's one thing I'm going to share about the organization. You talked about community initiatives that you guys serve. You gave some great examples. One of the things Cassie mentioned to the group when you hosted us a couple of weeks ago, she talked about how you guys will do a campaign to help folks. You work with a lot of churches and civic organizations if an elderly person doesn't have enough to pay their fuel bill or things like that. Maybe somebody needs gas to get to work. You do a campaign that helps take care of folks like that, and kind of a charitable cause. Talk briefly about that, because that's something I never knew about before.
We do. We partner with some churches, some individuals. Most of them don't want, they don't want to be named. But then we also do some on our own where we'll take some, funds, and we'll put it away. And Cassie kind of keeps track of that. We generally take those funds and we put them on sorry, that was the dog. So we take those funds, and what she'll do is she'll either put them on a gift card most of the time. And if somebody comes in and you can tell they're just really struggling, or they ask, or you're talking to folks on the phone, they say, I only got enough money to get the 125 gallons, but I'd really like to get that extra 25 gallons so I don't have to pay, any extra, because it's 150 gallon minimum delivery. Cassie she'll say, okay, you can pay 200 or whatever the cost is. And then she'll put the order in, and instead of 125, we'll just go ahead and put it in for 150. We make up the delta and make sure they're staying warm. And again, it's the same way with folks who they need a little extra help putting fuel in their car to get to work. Sometimes and it doesn't matter who it's for. It's just trying to make sure we do the right thing to keep those folks moving. Yeah,
we could go on for hours about the different stuff that I've seen Rockingham Petroleum do, and the initiatives that you've led, be it FFA, Little League Baseball, and so on and so forth. It's just, Cindy and I are blessed to be able to interact with you personally, but teams like you lead and so on. We're thankful for the relationship we've got with you, with the whole organization, but again, the friendship with you. Is there anything you would like to share before we call it done with folks that you'd really like them to know about? Here's who we are, and here's what we do at Rockingham Petroleum.
Well, again, we're neighbors serving neighbors, and I'll piggyback on the Harrisonburg Radio Group slogan. We live here and we give here. We invest our time, talent, and treasure back into the exact same communities in which we serve, and we're very passionate about that. We're passionate about what we do. We appreciate we appreciate their membership, but those even who aren't members, we certainly value their patronage and their support of our business. And hopefully they do know and understand we'll be using our time, talent, and treasure to give back to them.
100%. Josh, I know you've got a crazy schedule. Thankfully, it's a little bit warmer than it was over the last 2 weeks, so we had the time to do this. Thanks for taking the time to do this. We appreciate you very much. For anybody listening to this live or on the Leading at the Next Level podcast, if you'd like to go deeper into anything that we've shared, I would encourage you to reach out, look up Rockingham Petroleum Cooperative online. They've got a fantastic website, a lot of cool stuff. If you need continuing education credit, our Leading at the Next Level complete program has, north of 150 full lessons, all approved for SHRM and HRCI continuing education credit. Reach out to us at admin@dove-development.net, and we'd be happy to hook you up with a 45-day all-access trial that you can kick the tires, learn, get the credits if you need them. It also gives you access to a couple live lessons each month that we do that are with Q&A. We never record the Q&A. That's just for the people that can join us live, but we've got a digital product that has, again, more than 150 hours worth of content. If you've got questions with that, reach out to us directly, and appreciate you being with us today. Josh, hang tight. I'll end the recording. See you guys soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Wes.